Welcome back, explorers. I'm David, that's Wesley, and this is the Trailcast.
The weekly show that gets so far off track, you'll have to stick around and see just where we end up.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
That's right. Today we're talking about The Wait, that's not right. Oh, wait. The Flash. So, David, I went and saw not The Batman this weekend. I saw The Flash, which I thought it was going to be a Batman movie because of how much they were leaning on Michael Keaton for advertising. But went and saw Flashpoint this weekend, and I want to know what your thoughts are. I want to switch it up a little bit and get your thoughts first.
So, I was actually pleasantly surprised by...
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was necessarily it wasn't an amazing movie, but it was... I will say I enjoyed watching that movie in the theater. That movie, it was very immersive. I actually got into it. Which a lot of movies nowadays that doesn't really happen, and I wasn't expecting it to happen with this movie. But like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was pretty good.
I told Sarah, I said, I think because of the fact that I went in it with such low expectations, because of that, how low my expectations were, this movie, my expect part. Now, like you said, it's not like I'm going to go around claiming this is the best superhero movie ever, but, it was a good, immersive movie. I enjoyed myself watching it, while I was in the theater.
Yeah, that's saying I don't think it's even just the superhero genre. There are better movies, but I would still recommend anyone go watch it.
I think one thing with this movie, that is a downer on it, is the fact of this is another multiverse movie, and we've had so many of those that's I think there are things here and there that I saw with the plot that I didn't like, but for the overall arcing, really well told or well written. I thought it played out very well, but I think the fact it's just another multiversal story, another time travel story, movie that kind of. Some of its points, if they came out early 2010s, it would have been a way better movie because it would have been on the tail end of the Infinity, however many the Spider-Verse, just all those other movies, in the same realm as this.
And one thing I will say for this movie, is it did go, dive into all that stuff, but I think they explained maybe not the multiverse, but the time travel at least better than a lot of movies have. I think
I like the time travel in this.
I think they explained it better than they did in Endgame. Because Endgame really made no sense.
It's all about spaghetti.
The spaghetti the whole spaghetti thing the theme that kept reoccurring was great.
Yeah, the movie's spaghetti. The whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing of how because even the whole plan he came up with to save his mom was making sure she didn't forget the spaghetti sauce.
Yeah. And then at the end, when when he ends up saving his dad or getting his dad, the evidence he needs to release from prison, it goes back to the spaghetti sauce. So the whole movie revolves around spaghetti, which is kind of funny. It's a funny little thing.
So I want to know a little bit more, like let's see whatever. Like, I want to know a little more precise, kind of where you would put this movie. So, on a scale of, let's say, on a scale of 14 to 37, where would you put this?
14 to 37. This is what you meant by different scales. You're talking about different numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. 14 to 37. Okay. 14 to 37. All right. Well, give me an example of a 14 or like a 15, and give me an example of like a 35 to 37, like movie wise.
I don't know. Think of it like I can't even think of a bad movie, but right on top of my head. I mean, the movie that's that bad, but basically 14 is the worst, and then 37 would be the best, like Citizen Kane level movie.
You act like I don't... See, yeah, I understand that. So like 1 through 10 is. I'm just trying to think of how I would gauge it, there, because okay, if we were doing like a 1 through 10 scale, I'd probably maybe a 7.5. Better than like a 6, I'd put it up to like a style movie. So I guess with that in mind, if I 7.5, then E14 37, you said? 37. You just came up with that. You just pulled that out of thin air. All right. They probably like on that scale, probably close to like a 30, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking 29 or 30.
29. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that's a good, because like, it's a good solid movie. Like, I think I haven't. I mean, I've only seen it once. I think it's gonna have some rewatch value. But just the theater experience for me is what puts it so high. Because like so this movie
now, go ahead.
I would recommend anyone go see it because like I don't know if this is one of those movies that you'll miss something not seeing it in the theater, but just the theater experience was that's what
good.
I think made this movie such a fun movie to watch.
Now I do want to mention this, just to go ahead and get this out there for anyone who's listening, and so we talked about jokingly, we're like, oh, it's not a Batman movie, it's a Flash movie. And part of the reason why they probably marketed it closer to Batman and a lot of the marketing wasn't coming through their star, Ezra Miller, is because of the stuff that's happened behind the scenes. We are not here to get into any of that. We're going to judge the movie solely off of the movie and nothing else going on. I assume, David, you know all the stuff that's happened with him and all the controversy with him. I just want to go ahead and say that we're not going to dive into any of that because I don't think that that's pertinent to our conversation here, diving into the movie.
And see, that's another thing. I'm one of these people who I can separate the actor from the movie.
My reason for saying that is because I don't think that this movie, because a lot of the backlash that he's gotten, is going to do well in the box office opening weekend or for a little while. I think it would do well over time, and I think he's seen as a good movie over time. But coming straight out, it's leaning very heavily on Michael Keaton, and that's about where it is. But because Ezra Miller is such a big part of this movie and a Flash movie with him being the star, it's on the box office. But like you were saying, like I recommend watching it. And it's rewatch value, like, I think it's worth watching at some point, down the road, once it comes to streaming.
Let's talk about, let's kind of break it down a little bit more, go a little more in depth in this. So, like, even from Act 1, like, I kind of really enjoyed that first bit, like, before he even, like, figures out even time travel. Just the scene of going to Gotham City.
That first.
Yeah, and
now
we get a little bit.
I want to go ahead and
go ahead.
I want to go ahead and get this out of the way. The CGI in this movie is horrible, and there's no excuse for it. Now I've heard that the director has talked about it and said that it's supposed to be you're viewing it from his point of view, and like I guess seeing things, in slow. But there's no excuse. Like me and Sarah were talking about it, and I mentioned that to her as why they say it's like looks bad, and she was like, well, it's not even visually pleasing. Like you can make something that you can see from his view, but you can make it visually pleasing. And the fact that they took so long in making this movie means that, it should be better than it is. Like, and how much, I mean, it's like they had a big budget on this movie too. So, they should have been able to do better than they did. And I want to go ahead and say that because if I say that now, then I don't have to talk about the bad CGI babies, the bad CGI in the, what's it called? The dome,
the Chrono Dome.
Whatever they call it, the
Chrono Bowl or
the Chrono Bowl. Don't have to talk about that. Don't have to talk about any of the other CGI in it because I'm just gonna go ahead and say it was trash. Like this is one of my biggest knocks against Aquaman is because of how bad that was, and
I
just don't think DC's gotten that down.
Yeah, talking about like the Chrono Bowl, like that could have looked really good. Like, I see what they were going for with that.
I love the idea. I love the idea.
I feel like if they'd gotten CGI right on that, that would have been visually amazing. Like, look at the scene when he first entered the Chrono Dome, like broke through the time barrier. I guess there's like the sound barrier
like
when he broke the time barrier. I guess that's what you call it. That scene was visually impressive and looked really good, but the there was a lot of stuff, a lot of CGI that didn't look good. Like the baby shower. The babies looked like they looked like baby dolls. Like they
didn't even look that real.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. They looked
it looked bad. And I'm still up in the air, and I don't know if that'd be a pun or not, but we're gonna say intended. I'm still up in the air like the babies on how I feel about that first scene being dedicated to babies, like obviously he saved them all, but it was like, you're throwing babies. Like it's obviously CGI, but you're throwing babies out of a window.
I know. I got kind of that. I got the same kind of a feeling about that. Like, I'm just like, I guess it made the stakes higher, but yeah, I kind of got
there were some
a little weird.
There were some questionable things I think that this movie did, and some of that we can dive into a little bit later, but that was one of them that I was like, like obviously like you said, stakes are high and things like that, but it's like, I don't really know if I like the idea of even knowing CG, thinking to myself, the babies are falling, like it just obviously didn't sit right. I'm glad he saved them and all, but it's, at the same time, it's like, I don't know if you should do that. I mean, maybe it's fine, but
now, one thing I did like about that whole, that whole opening sequence was just the fact of, like, that was one thing that actually showed, I think, better than a lot of other adaptations of The Flash have, of just the fact that because his metabolism is so sped up, he has to, like, make sure his caloric intake is high enough. Because like that was the whole thing. He started to run out of energy there.
Yeah, that was one thing Sarah mentioned to me in the theater. She was like, so basically, like, is he like? I think later on in the movie she mentioned this, but it's talking about like just basically think about how powerful the Flash is. Like she was like, is there really anything that he can't do? And I was like, well, there's probably like not much that he can't do, but he has to A, have the skill to do it, and then B, because his metabolism is so fast, that's a huge weak point, you know, like he has to eat a lot of food to be able to, you know, burn as much energy to do a lot of the stuff that he does. Like, you know, he can run extremely fast to turn back time, but, you know, he also has to have the energy to do so. You know, I know he has other weaknesses. I think he would have other weaknesses. But I know, like, his just how fast he burns calories is definitely a huge one that they show really well in this.
Well, I think in the comics, one of his like stated weaknesses is ice, because, you know, Captain Cold literally just freezes the floor and he goes flying.
That's fair.
But
I mean,
also
not really, but yeah.
Speaking of ice, now I know this is a holdover from the Zack Snyder stuff because this is still technically in that universe, but
yeah,
why does he look so dumb when he runs? So it was a conscious decision in Justice League to make the Flash, when he's running, look like he's skating on ice, and it looks so dumb.
Also, his stance before he runs looks stupid. Like, I know they made fun of it. Like, I know they made fun of it in that scene where he lost his powers, which that was hilarious. Like, I thought that was this movie had a really good balance of like comedy, but like also really it was really emotional with all the stuff he was doing, like having to deal with his mom. You know, like the Flashpoint storyline is extremely emotional anyway, and they did a really good job of showing that, but they also had a lot of comedic factors into it. I told Sarah after we saw the movie, I felt like, as far as DC goes, like this felt a lot like Shazam, in my opinion, because it was like, it had those, like, it balanced its comedy well. And that was one of the scenes, like, you know, you're talking about him looking stupid. Like, they made fun of it, and that was a hilarious scene. Like, when we were in the theater, like, everyone busted out laughing at that point, because he just, you know, basically ice skating around the room. He looks stupid. He looks like an idiot. And, you know, but it didn't change the fact that they just did it for the rest of the movie.
So, also, one thing I like, kind of moving in from Act 1 to Act 2, kind of one thing I like about this, so, you know, in Act 1, which is also kind of patterns within the Justice League, you know, he's kind of this, portrayed as this, like, young, kind of, like, new to everything superhero.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, he is. But then, in Act 2, when you get Young Barry, in it, you know, like, he almost immediately matures, which I think most of that is just the balance, or I don't think he really like immediately matures. I think it's more just the comparison to Young Barry, because he's so immature.
Yeah.
But by the end of the movie, I think he has actually matured a lot, which I think, you know, the character growth is good.
Really good.
I love
for both Barrys. For both Barrys, the character growth is really good.
But I love the fact that, like, he's kind of forced to be the adult. Yeah.
Which like, I think works for that character, like, you know, because you think about it, like, the Flash is a lot like Spider-Man in a lot of ways. Like, I think typically the Flash is older,
especially this Flash.
Yes, but like with the comedic side, you know, like the quips and stuff like that, like he makes jokes on you know, while he's fighting. Spider-Man does that too. I think, you know, Spider-Man typically becomes more mature when he has to be mature, not out of, you know, just want. He does it out of necessity. And like here, he does it out of necessity because someone has to be the adult here, you know. And so he takes on that role as being the older. And obviously, you know, he's been the Flash for a period of time, and so he knows how to train the new Barry. I do want to mention one thing before we get too far into the second act here. Now, I've done a lot of research today into, I guess, the Snyderverse or the DCEU. What's been up until this point, basically. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I gathered, in the Snyder cut of the Justice League, there's a point where Barry not runs back in time, but like reverses time and kind of dabbles with time travel at that point. Which, from again what I heard, that wasn't supposed to be him going back in time. It was supposed to be him reversing time, which apparently they wanted to make a distinction between. But I felt like, from my point of view, it was a little bit rushed how quickly he stumbled across the... Like, it wasn't that bad, but it seemed like it was like, bam, we need time travel. He's just going to zoom, and all of a sudden he's, running so fast that he, like you said, breaks the time barrier. And now, he can basically, he figures it out instantly. I know he's a smart guy, but like he figures it out instantly. And, I know you need pacing for the movie, but it seemed a little rushed. I don't know how you felt about that, but...
Yeah, and again, I feel like this whole universe kind of feels rushed. Also, one thing you have to know is that this movie was a sequel to the theatrical release of Justice League, not the Snyder Cut.
Well, yes, I did know that because I'm pretty sure, again, from what I heard, that the Snyder Cut's not actually DCEU canon. It's just, his release of it. But, what was it? When Iris West, showed up, she made some comment about how, like, she felt like she's seen him recently, and apparently she's in the Snyder Cut, but not in the theatrical release.
I heard that was a reference to that, but...
There are references, but from what from what the breakdowns and all of this movie and different things like that, like, I knew it wasn't necessarily... like that was canonized, but I wanted to make sure with you, because you've seen them, like in the Justice League, and I guess any other movies that Barry Allen has been in, he hasn't dabbled with time travel, has he?
No, not really, no.
Okay, so just in the Snyder Cut is the only time that he's messed with anything time oriented.
Yeah.
Okay, so it did feel a little rushed then. If as long as all my ducks are in a row with what I thought, then yeah. It felt rushed anyways, but...
Yeah. But, yeah, you do have to get movie pacing, but, yeah. But, I will say... Well, what will I say? I don't know. I started talking.
I don't know what you're going to say.
I forgot what I'm saying.
Well, there is some stuff that ends up happening throughout Act 2 that we can probably get on to talking. But I'm sure if you've been looking into anything related to this movie today, you probably have seen this, or you might have already known it beforehand. But I thought it was kind of funny, like, how with this, he has a roommate who has whatever his name on his thigh, which is actually his calf. What was the actor's name? But it's supposed to be, instead of Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, it's this other guy.
Crap, who was
I don't remember his name. Well, I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
But if you knew this, then I'll tell the viewers. Whatever the actor's name is, if we can find it, that'd be great. But we may not be able to. Whatever his name was, he actually came on and shot for like, I think week's worth of shooting Back to the Future, or started reading through the script, and then they were like, nah, we don't like that, and they brought Michael J. Fox in to actually do the role. So it wasn't like a completely out of left field choice.
Yeah. But I also like how convoluted they made it where everything was like, since Michael J. Fox wasn't in Back to the Future, he was in Footloose. Which, yeah, with
Kevin Bacon
and Kevin Bacon was... Yeah.
I need to figure out what this actor's name was. It rhymed with thigh. You know what, David? We're gonna be. I don't know if you listen to our podcast, but at some point when you're listening to this, you're gonna be listening to it and be like, "We are such idiots," because you're gonna know it at that point in time. Let's see.
And I heard someone talking about this earlier. Like I watched a video.
I'm looking up.
Talking about this earlier.
If you want to keep conversations going, I'm gonna look it up. and see if I can find original actor. Okay. No, I don't want
Eric Stoltz.
Eric Stoltz. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so he was on the set for Back to the Future starting out, and then they were like,
the first 6 weeks he was,
yeah, 6 weeks it was? Okay. I knew it was like, my remembering of it was 6 days, so that's why I said a week, but if it was 6 weeks, then that makes, yeah. Anyways, that would be why I was not misinformed, misremembered, but yeah, he was on it starting out, so that was kind of a funny little thing that they threw in there, and the rest, I would assume, was just, them making up stuff, but I will say starting out, I was really, really confused, like, as to why him going back in his timeline was, because of the way that, time has worked in every other time travel movie, it was really confusing why everything else had changed, like why Arthur Curry hadn't been born when Arthur Curry was that much, like, older than, Barry, him changing that one little bit in his past wouldn't have changed that. But I like the way they explained it where, it's not like it's a branch timeline. It just completely changes, all of history.
That's also how I explain the older Bruce Wayne.
Well, is it really older? I mean, I know Michael Keaton is older, but like I feel like they still have that aspect of it's an older Bruce because Ben Affleck's not exactly a spring chicken.
Well, Ben Affleck is supposed to be playing a older Bruce Wayne anyway, but I think, but they even make the comment of that Michael Keaton's older.
That's true. Which I do want to make this one comment. That first action scene, I know we've left Act 1, but that first action scene where Batman dropped out, that suit looked good. It was very reminiscent of The Dark Knight, and I liked that.
And that was also that was also a very more comic accurate suit too, because like the like gray with the faded like navy blue looked really good.
Yeah, I thought that was it looked really good when he dropped out and he was. I mean, that first action scene was like really good, and that was like a cherry on top. Like his suit was a cherry on top. It was really good.
Mm-hmm. And we got to see the Wonder Woman cameo and
Lasso of Truth, and everything starts spilling out.
There were actually a lot of cameos in this movie, which I'm sure we'll get to in the third act. But
I will say I told this at the movie. I said like one thing you don't see as much in Marvel movies that like this movie did well was this is a Flash movie. But at the beginning of the movie, the Flash is doing what? He's helping out Batman in Gotham City. Wonder Woman comes to, save him at the last second, and they reference Superman and say, this is why he's not here. And it's like one thing with the Marvel movies is like, in a lot of these movies, you have world-ending events in solo movies, but the only person who's there is the single hero who's like, whose title is whose name's on the title, Like, if it's a Captain America movie, Captain America's the only one in the movie. Thor movie, Thor's the only one in the movie. But, like, in this one, you have other characters. It feels like there is more to the universe than just, when they team up. Which I thought was nice. Like, that, at least for this one movie, that was a nice aspect of it.
Yeah. And in the first act, that wasn't even a world-ending event. It was just
yeah.
But that action sequence in the first act was pretty good.
I did think the action in this was good. Like overall,
it was. Yeah,
the action scenes were good.
But going back to the second act, once Michael Keaton's Batman came into it, like that just. I know a few weeks ago you said you were worried about them potentially ruining Michael Keaton's character. I think they did a really good job with his character.
They did a great job with it. That opening scene with him was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Just him, just giving it to the old Barry, and young Barry was just standing there like, "What's going on?" Like, and then there at the last second where he just like dives and then just basically face plants. That whole scene was funny. That was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
see,
he was in one flip flop.
At first, I didn't even know who, because of the long hair and the beard, I didn't even know who that was at first, and then I think it gives you a close up of his face, and like, oh, okay, that's Michael Keaton. But I was wondering, who even is this? Is that Alfred or something?
I was wondering if when they started that, I was like, is it going to be Michael Keaton's Batman? Are they going to go to multiple universes in this, where eventually they stumble across Michael Keaton's? Because I was thinking maybe there might be other cameos too, from like maybe Christian Bale or other Batmans, So I was like, maybe they'll do that, and they'll do it where they're not just staying in one alternate timeline or whatever. But so I wasn't entirely sure, and then he face plants, rolls over, and you can see it's Michael Keaton, and I was like, okay. I see where they're going with the story. Which, one thing, I can almost guarantee you that Michael Keaton probably came in for about a week, filmed all his scenes, and was gone. Because the amount of screen time with actually his face and lines is honestly very little. Like, Batman's on screen a lot. I can almost guarantee you he was not in that suit, hardly ever.
The music, in some of the scenes where I think it's mainly when they're going to when they're in Siberia, but the music in the background with some of the Batman scenes. Oh, back to the original score. That just
even going to when they really honed into the original score when they went into the Batcave. That was and you saw the original car and all, and then later on when the Batwing dropped out, all goosebump chill moments. That was that was cool.
Talking about in Siberia, I don't know, did you ever watch that animated Flashpoint movie?
I don't know if I ever saw the no, I don't think I did.
So, okay. But that sequence in Siberia when they go to try to find Superman, that is almost the exact I don't know if it's the same organization that took Kara, but that's almost the exact same sequence in that original animated Flashpoint movie. The same snow, especially after Supergirl get Supergirl out into the light. That's almost like
now.
Is that
a comic book accurate Flashpoint movie, or is it does it do this one where it takes some liberties?
I think it's more so than this one. I don't, because that's actually the one with Thomas Wayne. And,
I was about to say I listened to but I knew the general idea of Flashpoint and the storyline, but today I know it because I listened to 3 or 4 different YouTubers go over it, so I know it now. But
now,
anyways, and with that in mind though, I thought they told with taking creative liberties, I thought they told the Flashpoint story really well.
Oh, they did. But I actually really liked Supergirl in this movie too.
Oh yes, that's one thing that they did amazing. I mean, not that they didn't do some other things that were good, but she didn't have enough screen time. But there was very little. There was nothing wrong with her character. There's later on. There was one nitpick I had when she ended up taking Flash up into the atmosphere to get struck by lightning. I have no idea how she knew what they were doing because she was not around. So I have one little nitpick with the story with that. But outside of that, which isn't really anything to do with her character, she was a really good character, and she obviously was she knows how to fight. She's, super powerful. They did her character really well.
And like, I know there were some people who were kind of upset that they didn't get a blonde actress or dye her hair blonde or something, because Supergirl in the comics is supposed to be blonde. But one thing my brother mentioned after when we were talking about this after we watched the movie is that she actually looks like Clark's cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but no, I think what's the actress's name? Sasha Cal. I think she did a really good job.
Amazing job.
Yeah,
I would love to see more of her in that role, even though I know that that's very low likelihood, being that this is the end of the DCEU, and they're pretty much going to recast everyone going forward.
From what I heard, she wants to have her own Supergirl movie. I wouldn't
I'd love
that, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But yeah, I think that would be pretty good. But like I said, Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl really did a lot for this movie. I don't know that it necessarily needed it, but it definitely
added
a lot. Yeah.
I might have heard that maybe some people didn't like this, but the action, like when Batman dropped in and he just started pummeling people, that was good. Like, I liked that. It was very much like in the vein of like how the DC's been doing it. Not as much, like he'd kick someone and they'd go and break a wall or something. That's how they did it when Ben Affleck, made his appearance or whatever. But like, it still looked really good, and he might be old, but he's still Batman. Like, he's still probably in really good shape. Still able to go out there and kick a bunch of people and do some damage. He might hurt himself, but he's gonna hurt them a lot more.
Also, so I know. Did you ever watch Man of Steel?
Nope.
Okay, but
I got a recap.
But like General Zod is like the main villain of Man of Steel. But it also made me wonder if the twist where Kara Zor-El is actually the one that's got the like Kryptonian DNA coding or whatever.
Yeah,
and it wasn't Clark, or it wasn't Kal-El.
You wonder if that was how it was in the original.
It makes me wonder, because like I don't know if that's the one thing that changed or not. You just make
Yeah, that's true.
Also, what happened to Kara Zor-El in the original timeline?
Well, yeah, that's one thing is like in a lot of the deep dive things that I was looking at today, they're talking about how in whichever one of the movies they have the open pod or the pod with like one open container or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, that's like hinting. Whether we do anything, that's hinting. But it's like, all right, you can hint at it, but if you're gonna hint, like, where would she be? Like if she's around, where is she? You gotta, like you said. Like, what's going on with her character? She does exist in the original timeline. Like, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's one of the many plot holes that the DCEU has, but we're not talking about the DCEU. We're talking about this one good movie that they made. Mm-hmm. One out of, they made, maybe 2 or 3 good movies. Very few.
Let's see. Both Shazams, Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad movies, and this.
Yep. I'd like to see those. I haven't seen those yet, but I'll get around to watching them eventually. When it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Now, talking about that, let's go ahead and move, because we've been recording for a while here, so let's go ahead and move on to Act.
Told you we'd have a lot to say.
Let's go ahead and move on to Act 3 real quick, and we can dive into that real quick. So, one thing I also liked, that's jumping ahead quite a little bit, but one thing I also liked is the Dark Flash twist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was good. And we were talking about the character development a little bit ago. Like, the fact that like, okay, the Dark Flash was in young Barry's future. That's essentially what he would become. But he realizes that that's, like, time is funny, you know, like, when it comes to movies like this. Like, instead of becoming the Dark Flash, he ends up letting himself die, which kills the Dark Flash, which, you know, is like, messes with your mind. But, you know, I thought it was really good that, like, you know, he matured, I think, in a lot of ways in that little bit of time, in that little moment where he was like, wait, this isn't what I want to become. You know, I don't want this. So he sacrifices himself, which, when he dies, kills the Dark Flash. But, you know, I thought that was a really good, like, move. And, you know, when he first comes comes in at the midway through, you know, the movie there, whenever, and he kicks him out of the, yeah. When that all happens, like, you're like, what? And then they just don't kind of come back to it for a little while. And then all of a sudden they do at the end. You're like, oh, and then they show, and it's like, oh, you know, I feel a little stupid for not seeing it ahead of time. And I'm sure a lot of people did, but, you know, I was just sitting there watching the movie, so I don't have to figure everything out.
Like, as soon as our Dark Flash came back in the Chrono Ball, and you actually get a good look at him, I realized I'm like, oh, because, you know, you'd already seen young Barry start to get all the, like, metal shards stuck in him.
Yeah.
And at that was the point when I realized. But I kind of like, they kind of copied the Flash TV show a little bit in my mind with that, because, well, in two ways. So obviously one being the Savitar from the CW Flash.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was a little bit of a ripoff of that. But also in season 1 of the Flash, when you have Reverse Flash as the main villain, and then what's his name? I don't remember the character's name, but the detective guy that is supposed to be like a ancestor of Eobard Thawne, who kills himself.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
He kills himself to make Thawne never have existed.
Do you know? I would like to talk about the Flash series once we get closing down with this towards the end of this movie. But did you know there's 9 seasons of that?
I only watched like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I watched. I think 5. I think I watched 5 seasons, and that was like when it was coming out. And then eventually, I was just like, man, this is just the same thing over and over again. I'd like to watch through it just because I really like that version of the Flash. Yeah, even if like it's. But yes, I know what you're talking about. I was listening to a breakdown of the whole series, basically a synopsis of the whole series today, and I do. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I do remember what you're talking about there, where he like ends up killing himself so that the Reverse Flash doesn't live, which actually turns out to not really matter later on.
Yeah. Which also that's another thing. That's another thing that in the original Flashpoint, you know, because Eobard Thawne is the one who kills Barry's mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they changed that to just being some random someone who broke into the house.
Well, actually, you never find out who it is. Now, there's not going to be a sequel to this, so that's what it's going to be. But if they ever did make a sequel to this, they could dive into that and they could make it the Reverse Flash. But see, the thing about that though is, like, you go back to the CW series. That first season, the main villain's the Reverse Flash, and the main point of the whole entire show is Barry wants to save his dad and save his mom. You know, he wants to save them. So, like, last couple episodes, they're going back in time. They're, you know, doing all that stuff. And he has to do what this Barry does in this movie. He has to let his mom go because he realizes that, you know, you can't mess with time like that. So, So if they did it in another movie, if they were to make another one, it would fall kind of flat because they'd basically be doing the exact same movie concept, but they'd insert the Reverse Flash instead of, Zod and another timeline and like something like that, Like they can't go back to the well of he wants to save his mother because he's already at the end of this movie, he's gotten to the point where he's more or less like he accepts it as this is what happened, It's not something I can do to bring her back. Which, man, what an emotional... It was an emotional movie. There at the end, and it goes kind of to that like the ethical dilemma.
So
where it's like save one person but kill thousands, or save thousands and kill one, because that the timeline that she lives in gets destroyed. Like all of humanity would have been wiped out by Zod.
Because I mean, like in all reality, like the only chance they would have stood was Supergirl.
Yeah.
To defeat the Kryptonians, and like, obviously, because young Barry like tried for however long, and eventually became Dark Flash to try to find some way to save both Batman and Supergirl, but obviously didn't work.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about that final battle though. So I know the CGI was rough in places, but some of those fight scenes were really cool though.
Yeah, I thought overall it was a good fight scene.
Well, actually, I will say like the most of the rougher CGI was towards the beginning of the movie. But yeah, some of the CGI wasn't the best, but like I said, it was still really good in that final fight scene.
Let me ask this: with the essentially like main plot of the movie being like the Dark Flash and how he gets created, and honestly why he is created, being the focal point being Supergirl dying and Batman dying. How do you feel about them killing Michael Keaton's Batman? Now, obviously, I know this is not the same timeline as the 1989 Batman, so that's not. But like Batman or Michael Keaton as Batman, like we saw him die on screen. Let's put it that way. How did you feel about that? How did that make you feel?
I mean, I didn't really have a problem with it. Obviously I kind of wanted, both Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl to survive, but like so I did, I kind of knew. I just knowing the Flashpoint story going into this, I kind of knew that a lot of this wouldn't really matter, if that makes sense. So like the stakes were kind of lower in my mind, but
see, my thought with that was very similar to how I felt about the babies at the beginning. It was like, I don't know how I feel about this in the moment. Now, I'm like you, I'm okay with it. Like, I think it was okay. I think it was done well too. Like, I like the line where he's like, something about like, we can't save you, or we can't bring you back, and he's just like, you already have, And I saw someone.
That was a really good line.
And I saw someone compare it to Vader and Luke in the Return of the Jedi, where he's like, something about, Luke's trying to save him. And he's like, you already have, you brought me back to the light side. And like I thought that was like a nice little parallel. And I don't know, I'm okay with it because I know that Michael Keaton's Batman is not going to return in that role. Like I don't think that he ever will. He's getting older, and this was essentially it was a cameo. He was a main part of the story, but it was a cameo return for the fans, and like it was kind of nice to be like, okay, this is the closure on Michael Keaton's Batman. And I thought in the end, after mulling it over my mind and thinking about it for a little bit, it's like, okay, I can accept this. I can be okay with this. I can even like this a little bit. Like you said, that one line, it was really good. It hit right before he dies. He says, you already have brought me back, which is, it was good.
Also, like, talking about all the cameos, like, right there at the end, there were a lot, especially, like, classic live action DC stuff. There were a lot of cameos, because, like, obviously, a lot of those actors have passed now. Like, George Reeves or Adam West. But, just having the CGI in there.
What do you think of Christopher Reeve? His cameo in this.
I didn't think it looked the greatest. I thought they could have done better using pre-existing footage.
Yeah.
They could have done better.
I don't know why they didn't.
But
I like the idea. I did not like the execution.
Yeah, I didn't think the CGI was the best. I will say that. And because that was really the only one that zoomed in on.
Yeah.
Well, that and Nicolas Cage, but
Yeah. Which that was a very interesting.
I think it's funny that Nicolas Cage even got a cameo as Superman.
Yeah, that was funny and interesting. I'm sure, again, most of the time when it comes to a lot of these things that you and me both are interested in, we tend to know. Like, if I know something, you tend to know it too. But like the story around, what was it, Superman Lives, which was supposed to be the one with him. When they brought the movie to like the writers or the director, whoever it was that was supposed to be, making the film, they were like, so here's what we want. We don't want to see Superman fly. We don't want to see that original costume. And at the end of the movie, in the third act, he has to fight a giant spider.
Yep.
And so it was like, and I was like, wait, what? Like, that makes no sense. Like, you're basically saying, we don't want Superman. We just want Nicolas Cage to fight a giant spider. Which was, there's a movie that, the person who originally came up with the idea of Superman Lives and had the giant spider idea, the next movie he filmed, or he directed, had a giant spider in the end of it, but I can't remember what it was. It was something with Will Smith, I think, is what I remember hearing. But I don't remember that off the top of my head, and for anyone who's listening who is calling me an idiot, you're right. Comment down below.
Yeah.
Not that I'm an idiot. Comment down below what the name of the movie is. I already know I'm an idiot.
But we also got, of course, the Helen Slater, Supergirl cameo, and the at the end, the George Clooney, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. So, obviously I understand that a lot of this is supposed to be basically wiping the slate clean. And I honestly thought it was cool that they brought back George Clooney as Batman, because I really feel like he can play that older Batman. Like, I think he could do a good job with that. And you also got to think about the fact, if you put him in the movie kind of like you do, or Marvel did with like Iron Man, where he's making more cameos and not really making as many single movies, it could work, especially when he's not in the suit. You can get a stunt actor to do that.
Well, I also don't.
But do you think they're just completely? As I said, do you think they're just gonna completely scrap all that, and that was just another? Like, here's the thing: who is Batman right now? We just had a movie where it went from Ben Affleck to Michael Keaton to George Clooney, but we also have what's his name from Twilight running around.
Robert Pattinson.
I can't remember his name. Robert Pattinson running around with all this stuff. So it's like, what is what? You know, DC, get your act together and make something consistent.
Also,
you know.
Also, I think they want to like recast everything for the James Gunn verse.
Mm-hmm. Well, I heard that they're recasting Superman.
So I don't even know if this movie, like, you know, people say this movie's going to reboot the DCEU, but I don't even know if this movie is going to still be technically canon.
Well, I heard, from what I've heard, I think they said that they're gonna, like, I think the Blue Beetle movie is supposed to be somewhat a part of it, but other than that, like...
And then Aquaman 2.
Aquaman 2 is going to be a part of it? I thought they were recasting him.
Oh, they are?
I don't know. Don't take anything out of his fact.
Basically, what I know from this is they're basically just releasing the DC movies that they have already filmed.
Uh-huh.
And then they're going to work on all their new stuff, new projects.
Okay.
So,
well,
I think this movie, Blue Beetle, and I'm pretty sure Aquaman 2 is going to be a sequel to the other Aquaman. I'm pretty sure those three they had already filmed, and they're just releasing them now.
See, here's the thing. Okay, I saw the Blue Beetle trailer finally. That looks really good. I think that could be good. But here's the thing. DC, not only are they so far behind Marvel right now, I feel like they're behind the curve when it comes to, like, people have lost a lot of interest in this, you know? Like, one, everyone's done a multiverse. Everything connects nowadays. You can't go see one movie without having to see 50 others and not, you know, you can't watch that movie without it setting up 50 other movies after, you know? Everything's connected, and I feel like, you know, that has really oversaturated the market. And I think DC's just kind of caught in the middle of all that, and like people have lost their... Yes, Marvel has kind of gotten off the rails because they kept chucking out stuff without it really having that high quality. But I feel like DC... I think James Gunn can and probably will do a really good job with the movies that they release under him in the DC universe. But I don't think it's going to do well, simply because I don't think people care anymore.
Well, I think what DC really needs to do is focus on quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if they only have a movie come out like once a year or even once every other year, focus on quality over quantity and actually make good movies.
Now, Warner Brothers, did they make the Joker?
Yes, I'm pretty sure every DC project is...
Okay, all by Warner Brothers?
Yeah.
Now, I thought the Joker was good. Was that one well received?
Hold up. I can check right now.
Well, while you're checking, keep in mind, check, the Batman, the new one, because, like, those two are two standalone movies that DC has made. If they were I from what I've heard, the Batman's good, and I liked the Joker. DC can make good movies. They're just trying to keep up with Marvel, which is their downfall, because they don't need to be like Marvel. They need to do their own thing. And, you know, make it where people like them for a different reason other than, you know, oh, this is just like Marvel. I probably could keep talking, but I'm eating popcorn.
Okay, so let's see.
But you're looking up stuff, so if I don't keep talking, there's just going to be this awkward silence. But now there's not an awkward silence, there's just me chewing and smacking in a microphone.
Joker, 2019, on Rotten Tomatoes, has a 69% critic rating and an 88% audience rating. So that's honestly pretty good. That's like almost 90% audience. That's really good. And then so on with the Batman 2022, the critic rating is 85%, which is really good, and the audience score is 87%, so just 1% less, but still really good. So, but both those are really high up there on the ratings. Which I actually looked up The Flash on Rotten Tomatoes too, which the critic score is 66%, which is lower in both of those, but the audience score is 85%, which still is lower in both of those, but still in the 80s.
That's good though for a DCEU movie. But I mean, overall, I thought it was a good movie. It was a good movie. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's not like it's gonna be cracking my top 5, top 10 all time superhero movies, but like it had a lot of good elements to it. I thought the story was told really well. There are very few points that I was like, hey, like I was even in the theater trying to be nitpicky with the story, and I was like, as like just not like, I'm sure that there could be people who would be like, oh, this. I wasn't being that nitpicky with it, but like I was trying to find problems here and there with the story.
And I'm sure if you're a comic book fan, you can find all sorts of problems with it. But
the biggest problem I found was the fact that Supergirl came back and took him up into the sky, and she had just been over there with Zod, so she had no idea what they were doing. Yeah, but that was it. That was it. And I even liked the scene. Where she took him up. It was cool.
Now, one thing I will say with Supergirl, I kind of wish they hadn't revealed that in the trailer that it was Supergirl instead of Superman, because I like that. Even the way that rescue sequence was from the base in Siberia would have been a lot more a lot cooler if I wasn't expecting it to be Supergirl. If I was actually expecting them to have Henry Cavill Superman or something, or an older actor, or
even some version of Superman. I
feel like that surprise would have been cool, but I mean, it's not that it's not as bad as in The Rise of Skywalker, how they revealed somehow Palpatine returned, and they revealed that in the trailer. That's not that bad, but
that was kind of dumb.
That was the stupidest thing to reveal in the trailer. But like I said, that's one kind of nitpicky thing I have about this movie. But I still think they did a good job with it.
No, I think overall the whole storyline, like how they went about telling it, was good. Like you said when you started off talking about it, like it was very immersive. I enjoyed, like me and Sarah were talking about it before we went. We don't have that much free time, and our Saturday nights are our date nights, and that's when we went out and saw the movie. And we were like, I was like, I don't want, like, I kind of have to see this because we're talking about it on the podcast. I was like, but I don't really want to waste our one night out, on a bad movie. So like I'm really, really hopeful that it's good, but I'm just not like, I don't think it will be. And then it just, we got into it, and I was trying to find problems with it as just a viewer, not as a critic necessarily, but as a viewer, I was trying to find problems with it, and like there were few to none that were, I mean, visually, CGI, other things, little things here and there that just should have been done better. But from like a story aspect, like it was just a good time, really immersive, and 10 out of 10 would recommend. 8 out of 10 would recommend watching it.
And that's one thing that maybe it was just the fact of I was expecting it to be utter garbage, and that's why that's why I enjoyed it so much, was because I had such low expectations for it. But no, I genuinely enjoyed this movie. I genuinely enjoyed the theater experience with this movie. And in fact, when the movie ended, I went to go see it with my brother Robert. But when the movie ended, he leaned over and said, like, this movie was better than it had any right to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, it, like with all the, and I know this movie is going to do terrible and have a terrible reputation just because of Ezra Miller. And I know you said we're not going to get into that, so I don't want to get too far into that. But like whether you like him or dislike him or whatever, all the drama with Ezra Miller is going to make this movie is going to tank this movie's ratings and stuff.
Yeah, and what's sad about it too is like he did a good job. The acting in this movie was good. He did a good job playing the two roles. But yeah, like you said, it's going to be overshadowed by a lot of people not being able to separate reality from movies. And I mean, sometimes, yes, you know, there are things to that. But at the same time, it's like, you know, enjoy a good movie for it being a good movie, you know.
Mm. Like I said, I can separate a movie or a show from the people behind it, but I know a lot of people that's what they're thinking of whenever they go to the theater and watch a movie is they're thinking about the people in the movie, and so I can understand that, but like I can separate that, but
yeah. Speaking of people, and then going back to cameos, I do have a slight bone to pick with this movie, among others. So when they were in the Kronos Bowl, whatever, and sounds like a bowl game, or sounds like you're saying it's like a bowl game. But anyways, when they're in the Kronos Bowl, they show the different cameos. Well, they show a retro Flash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That was played by the guy who plays. Well, it's not actually him, but it's the guy who's supposedly plays Jake Eric, right? Isn't that his name in the CW TV show in like season 2 or something? Who turns out to be the villain?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Which, with that in mind, wasn't it? What's his name? Harry Allen or whoever Barry's dad is? Isn't it supposed to be in that other universe that the actor who plays his dad is actually the real? So I saw that and I was like, I wasn't thinking about it, and then I started doing my diving into it, this weekend, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why they would do that? Also, why didn't they bring in Grant, or his name's Grant, right?
Grant Gustin.
Grant Gustin. Why didn't they bring him in? Being also, I don't know if you've seen. I hadn't seen it until I obviously did some of my research into this movie, but Ezra Miller had been in the CW TV show at one point. In one of the later seasons, he makes a cameo.
I did see that. Yeah.
Why is Grant Gustin not in this movie? Like, that is probably my favorite iteration of the Flash, hands down. I love that TV show. And as redundant as it is.
In that iteration of Flash, they did a really good job. Well, with the first couple seasons, they did a really good job with. The Arrowverse kind of went downhill, but
yeah. Once it got real convoluted is when I stopped watching it. When I had to watch all of Arrow to understand, this one episode in the Flash, and then you had to watch this, Supergirl, and you had Heroes of Tomorrow or whatever. Like, there was just way too much to it. That goes back to there being too much to Marvel. There's too much to the CW TV verse or whatever. But The Flash is a good TV show.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the first season is definitely worth watching.
Yes.
Other than that, like the seasons 2, 3, and 4 are pretty good. After season 4, I think it went downhill from there.
Yeah.
I also do kind of find it funny how every main villain is a speedster, except for the Thinker, I think is what they call him.
Yeah, the Thinker.
Anyway,
yeah.
But every other main villain was another speedster.
Yeah, and you always had to get faster and faster. Like, okay, I like the Reverse Flash. If they were to do a different type of villain for season 2 and then come back in season 3 with not Zoom, what's his name? Zavatar. If they came back with him and, did the reveal, which that is Barry, right? That's supposed to be a future version of Barry. Yeah. If they did that, that would have been a good, that was good. And then come in with like season 4 or whenever and do the Thinker, have another style. Like if they didn't do every single season the exact same way, it would have been probably a little bit better. I think the fact that they went straight from a speedster to a speedster to a speedster really was like, come up with a new idea.
And like I did there were parts about Zoom that I actually liked, like the thing of him almost being like a speedster serial killer.
Yeah. But there were a lot of good stories told, but it was like the overarching, like the fact that they were using basically the same villain over and over again was like redundant, even though the stories told were still good.
And the twist of the Jay Garrick that they had met actually Zoom, but
yeah,
it's just
should have seen it. Should have seen it coming after season 1, but
oh yeah, because nothing. They did the exact same thing.
Well, they did the exact same thing in season 3 too, because they had another one of the main cast was the villain, with Barry. So like I said, now same plot, just different stories. And I mean, the writers did a good job with writing the show. Like they did that, and the characters are really compelling. Like
in the beginning of the series, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, with the first couple seasons, yeah, they were good. And like, you want to see Barry and I can't remember her name. Iris. You want to see them, get together and all this and that. It's all those like normal things. Like it was written well, it was acted well, but I'm just confused as to why he's not in this movie.
Yeah,
and you brought this other guy in. You brought the other guy in. He wasn't even the Flash.
We had a Grant Gustin cameo, and all it would have to be is just like him like maybe like he's running through like one of these chrono bowls, and then like stops and looks up at the camera. Yeah, that's all. That's all it would have to be.
Literally it. You could probably get archival footage of that.
Mm-hmm.
Him looking up.
Yeah, that's literally all it would have to be. But yeah, I would have loved a Grant Gustin cameo in this movie, but it
didn't happen. It didn't happen. It did make me want to go back and watch the CW TV show, which I'm gonna see if I can find that somewhere and start rewatching it, because
now
they were good.
What this really makes me want to do is also go back and watch the Justice League.
Now I'm going to see if I can find that Flashpoint TV movie or whatever you were talking about, because I wouldn't mind watching that.
Yeah,
the Flash is a really good character.
Yeah, that's not connected to the Justice League animated show, but
yeah,
one thing I do find kind of interesting in the Justice League animated show is, I don't know if how much of that you've watched or how much of that you remember, but one thing that's kind of interesting is that Flash isn't Barry Allen.
Is it Wally? Not Wally West. Is it
Yeah, it's Wally West.
It is Wally West. Okay.
Yeah, it's Kid Flash. I mean, he's the Flash at that point, but it's it's Wally West as the Flash, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, wasn't it at that point in time with like the way the comics were going? Weren't they testing out Wally West, or not testing out necessarily, but like weren't they pushing him at that point more so?
Who knows? I don't know how many times like comic book characters have died and been brought back to life or replaced, and then this and then then they undo it, and then
There's too much to keep up with comics. We can keep up with the movies, but the comic books are a little bit too much.
Like I said, I would like to like get into some comics, but even with that, you have to, like, just imagine how, like, if you wanted to start reading Spider-Man comics, just to understand what's going on now, you probably have to read, like, at least, like, 5 or 10 years worth of comic books just to understand what's going on in the comics now. Like,
it's a lot of work.
They reboot the comics a lot too.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know, you know.
David's stuttering.
Yeah.
The stupid has returned, and it's in the form of David.
Well, I get it from you, so.
Well, no. You brought it this week. I can bring it. I can bring it next week. I can bring it next week. But you brought it this week. You brought the stupid with you. As much as I can, I'm gonna try and leave that with you. I'm gonna let you take it again.
Now, let's also talk about this. How disappointing that post-credit scene was.
Yeah. We were sitting in the theater.
Because I Googled
and it was like,
went...
I didn't know. I was just like, we should just wait and see. And people were sitting, like, people in the theater sat and waited. And I was like, I guess we'll just see. And then it was that, and it was like, okay, you know, whatever.
Waited the entire credits for that.
And it wasn't even like a funny thing from like Spider-Man Homecoming where it's like, man, you waited all that time for nothing. It wasn't even funny. Just drunk Arthur Curry. Drunk Aquaman over here.
It makes me wonder if the this Aquaman movie that's supposed to come out in December, if they are going to have the Flash in it, if it is a sequel to Aquaman 2.
Yeah. I mean, they shot these a long time ago, right? But say, like, wasn't this one in the works for like 4 years or more?
Yeah, because I think another movie had gotten in the way of filming schedules and stuff. So yeah.
And it's surprising how bad the CGI is after 4 years. I'm gonna harp on that forever and ever and ever. The DCEU has some of the worst CGI I've ever seen. It makes what's that one called? The one with that CGI Scorpion King. It makes that look good. Not quite.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
It looks very similar. Just in a slightly higher resolution.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
It kind of makes me wish we'd gotten just that little bit of like that first little bit. Kind of makes me wish we had actually gotten a
Oh yeah, one of those.
Why can't I think of his name? An actual like Ben Affleck.
Buffer.
Ben Affleck Ben Affleck Batman movie.
Yeah.
Because like we got Batman v Superman, which is a bad movie, and we got Justice League, which is also a bad movie, no matter which version you watch. I kind of doubt that we have any people listening to this who are Zack Snyder fanboys, but yeah.
But we're sorry.
Those were bad movies. But like I said, I kind of would, because I think he was could be a pretty good Batman.
From what I saw in this movie, because this is the only one that I've seen him in that he's been Batman in. From what I saw in this, he seemed like he could have played the role really well, given the right movie.
Because like what they were going for was like an older, kind of gruffer, more like had been Batman for several years, and that's what they got now. I feel like he could have played that role well, but
you know what I'd rather they do, and maybe if they keep Clooney as Batman, they could do this with him. But I would have loved to see Michael Keaton as an old man Batman and do like a Batman Beyond story with Michael Keaton as the old man Batman. Now, if they wanted to, going into the new DCU, they could do that with George Clooney, because I think I heard, and you might know more, but I heard a lot of things today. But I think I heard that the Batman Brave and the Bold movie that James Gunn has announced them supposed to be making, is supposed to be a story about Bruce and what's his son's name, Damian or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a story about them, which they could do a George Clooney old Batman, bring in Damian and make that Batman Beyond Batman, future Batman. You might upset some comic book lovers, but you could do that.
Also, wasn't George Clooney recast, or wasn't he a recast of in a sequel to another Batman movie? I can't remember. There have been some. I have trouble remembering like the 80s and 90s Batman movies.
He was only in Batman and Robin.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, wasn't Batman and Robin a sequel to another Batman movie?
So technically, from what I can remember, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin are all supposed to be in the same universe. They just recast Batman 3 times. Most people probably just kind of see,
because Michael Keaton was in the first.
They didn't recast. They didn't recast it. They cast twice. Okay.
And then what was it?
Recast. They recast twice. So
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer was in Batman Forever, and they had whatever his name. I don't know the actor's name, but they had Robin, and then going into Batman and Robin, they had the same Robin. So if nothing else, those two are supposed to be the same. But if you can remember, correct me if I'm wrong, Alfred is the same person throughout all 4 movies. So, and I think they were all directed by the same guy, which I can't remember who it was. Do you remember? Pretty well-known name, I think. But anyways, so those are technically supposed to... Tim Burton, yeah. So I'm pretty sure they were all directed by Tim Burton. And they basically just recast Michael Keaton to Val Kilmer, and then him to George Clooney. So, yeah, it's supposed to all be the same universe, but most people just definitely block out Batman and Robin. Batman and Forever wasn't great. And I personally am not as huge a fan on Batman and Batman Returns, because it's good. I just never liked the Penguin.
Of those,
he creeped me out.
And you probably will agree with this, but of those, Batman 89 is, in my opinion, the best. But I think a lot of
hands down, Batman and Robin is the funniest. All those puns. I love those puns.
Oh, gosh.
What wiped out the dinosaurs?
And like,
the Ice Age! It's not even a pun.
I don't even remember most, it's probably been, mentally blocked out, but I don't even remember most of these movies.
You don't remember the other two?
I'm sure I do remember, but okay, here we go. So, yeah, so this is on the Wikipedia article for Batman 89. It says the film was followed by 3 sequels: Batman Returns in 92, which with both Burton and Keaton returning. Batman Forever in 95, which featured Val Kilmer in the lead role, and Batman and Robin in 97, which featured George Clooney in the main role. Now, were these directed by Burton? No, they were not. Sure. Batman Forever and Batman and Robin were not directed by Tim Burton.
Were they directed by the same person or two different directors?
No, they were both directed by the same person.
Which was?
I'm going to butcher this last name, but
oh, good job.
Joel Schumacher.
Joel Schumacher. Schumacher.
Schumacher. Yeah.
You don't know Joel. You don't know Joel Schumacher. Now I'm butchering it, but I know who I'm talking about.
Schumacher.
No, it's not. Unless everyone else on the internet is pronouncing it wrong. Yeah, Sarah said Schumacher. Sarah said Schumacher, but from everything I've heard on the internet, Schumacher. I've heard Schumacher. Now the internet can be wrong. Let me make this comment right here. You know the cast who we have of Batman Forever and how bad it ended up doing? You have Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, and you have Jim Carrey as the Riddler. This is in what? You said 95, right? Movie coming out?
Yes, 95.
95. June 16th of 95. I see it right there. That is... They're pretty well... They're part... That's where they're at in fame. Like, they're pretty well known. And this is a... They did... Neither one of them did... I mean, okay, Jim Carrey... You can't say he did necessarily a bad job. The Riddler just didn't need to be that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Also, it was not directed by him, but it was produced by Tim Burton. So,
so this is.
So he was at least somewhat involved.
Did he have anything to do with Batman and Robin?
Let me see. No, he was not. He did not even produce Batman and Robin.
He didn't want to have anything to do with that one.
I guess not. Which, can you blame him?
No. I mean, here's the thing. You can watch through it. But...
Which
all right, here...
Which one did he have?
Here I have...
Batman have nipples in?
Go ahead.
Which one did Batman have nipples in?
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin. Okay.
I don't think he... Check. I don't know. I don't think he had it in Batman Forever. He might have. But I don't remember seeing that. Alright, so right here I have it pulled up. The way it looks like it's pronounced, if I can get the pronunciation. Does it have talk? Ooh, talk. Yes, tell me what it says. Nope, you're not helpful. It has J-U, so I'm thinking Schumacher. So Schumacher is kind of what I'm assuming it's supposed to be pronounced as.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The internet is either right or I don't care. Anyways, I don't think Batman Forever had nipples.
No, he didn't have nipples.
Bat nipples.
Yeah. No.
I did like the reference after young Barry made the Flash costume out of the old Batsuit. I like the fact that when he turned his head, he couldn't, like, his, the cowl didn't move.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was a funny little reference.
Because even up until even in the Dark Knight movies, he still couldn't really turn his head in the costume.
Yeah. It's I mean, what you gonna do? It's kind of hard to make a costume that is not difficult.
I still just love the some of the Michael Keaton Batman scenes where he's turns really quick to look at something, and he just whirls his entire body around to look at it.
Whole body. Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I thought it was kind of funny. A couple of his scenes, where So the one where he asked how much everyone weighed, I thought was a fun callback to what was it? The one we was talking Vicky Vale and was like, "How much do you weigh?" You know, it's like he has to do some quick on the fly math to make sure everything works out right. And then later on when they're running down and there's like the scientist and he steps at him like twice. He's like, "Wait a minute, that usually works." The guy just pulls out a gun. Oh, that was kind of funny. They had some funny moments with it. Built different. Yeah, they had some real funny moments with it, I thought, and overall, I thought they did good. I feel like we probably have exhausted most of our comments on this movie. I told you, and I know you knew this going into this too, but we were gonna have a lot to talk about with this. I've been thinking about a lot of this stuff most of the weekend, trying to just replay it in my mind so that, you know, it was still fresh and we could talk about all the things with the movie. There's a lot to it, and the fact that I think it exceeded expectations is one of the really big things with it.
So the only thing I'm trying to figure out is I don't know if this gives Indiana Jones 5 better or worse odds.
No, because here's the thing, and this was my point before we went and saw this movie, and I'm still going to make this point about the Indiana Jones movie. The DCEU has made good movies. Wonder Woman, the Shazam movies, and by your account, I haven't seen it, but by your account, at least one of the Suicide Squad, I think is what you said. So they have made good movies. Lucasfilm stumbled upon success with Rogue One. The most luck-oriented thing in the world. They did not repeat it, so it had to have been luck. Other than that, Lucasfilm under Disney has not shown that they can make a good movie. Anything close resembling anything like that. So, again, I'm real hopeful that Indiana Jones 5 is good. But I don't think it will be. And I don't think there's that high expectations, and a lot of it has to do with the fact of Lucasfilm just hasn't shown that they can. Mm-hmm. They can't with the original idea, because Rogue One wasn't an original. I mean, there was some leeway with it, but anyways. They can't really make their own story and do it well. As of yet. They might do great with it, but I doubt it. I'd love to eat my words. I'm so hungry. But
I think we pretty much exhausted our topic on The Flash at this point. So
I think we're pretty good with that.
Yeah. So you want to go ahead and move on to what's new with you?
Sure.
What's new? What's new with you? What's new? What's new with you? What's new? What's new with you? Yeah.
So Wesley, is there anything new with you?
I saw the Flash movie this weekend.
Oh, really? What'd you think of it?
Oh yeah, you want to hear my real long thoughts on it? Re-listen to the podcast. We rewind about an hour and a half. That's what's new with me. No, I'd say other than that, last week I mentioned that I had I was started playing Mario on the DS. I have since completed Mario on the DS. I haven't 100% completed it, so I'm still playing through some of the levels here and there. But I rescued Princess Peach, so now I need to get back to Fallout 4. Which, do I happen to have one of your Fallout 4 copies? Because they keep multiplying in my cupboard, and I don't know how that happens. I have at least 2 copies. I might have 3. And I never went out and bought one. So I have to have someone's.
Well, I've got my copy right here next to me. So I don't think.
Okay. Well, somehow I have at least 2 copies of Fallout 4, and as long as it still works, which I should probably test out, I have Fallout 3 because there's a code for Fallout 3 in the Fallout 4 box. So Yeah, but I still have to finish Fallout 4 nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, what was it? When I first we moved and I set up the Xbox and got my games out. Sarah had already put them up in the cupboard, and so I went and opened it up and was trying to find it, and I found the case that Robert gave me when he gave me his extra copy of Fallout 4. And then I looked a little bit farther down the line and I saw another box that said Fallout 4. So I pulled it out and I was looking at the two boxes and I was like, huh? And so I opened them up. They each had a disc in them. I'm thinking one might have had two in it, which is why I think I might have 3 copies of it. But I'm real confused.
I might have given you mine because the one Robert gave you didn't have the cover art, did it?
No.
So I got the Game of the Year edition of it. And I might have given my regular version of it.
Okay.
Just so the cover art.
Maybe that's what it is.
That might have been what it was, because like I said, I have my copy, because I bought the Game of the Year edition.
Well, that might be what it is, and if that, I'm going to accept that as fact, because I don't feel like thinking about this anymore and just being confused. I'm confused enough as it is. I don't need to have other things, other factors. But it was just like I was sitting here. I was like, they're multiplying in my cabinet. Now that'd be great, honestly. You know, I mean, hey, I could probably make a full-time living of it if they just kept multiplying in the cupboard. They just start selling video games, and you know, I mean, I may not say they may not be brand new, but I could probably say they're brand new. You know, maybe at least pretty good mint condition, never used before. They just keep getting made in there. You know, don't know how it all works. I don't question it. I just sell them.
It's like the Indian in the cupboard, except it multiplies instead of making stuff come alive.
Yeah. I'd rather it multiply than come alive. Although I think I'd be creeped out either way. But if I can make money off of it, jobs kind of suck. You got to wake up in the morning, go to them, work however long, and then you got to go back the next day. I mean, it kind of sucks. It's kind of a sucky. Just to live.
I actually also yesterday, I don't know if I want to say finished, but I beat Tears of the Kingdom.
Aha! About time.
Well, it took me 5 weeks.
David, you're an avid gamer. You should have been done with it like at least 5 weeks ago.
Well, I didn't want to. I wanted to actually enjoy it. I didn't want to just blow
No. You cannot enjoy it. You have to finish it.
And well, okay, we're not going to talk about how many hours I have in it.
5 times. Let's see, 7 times 24, and then that times 5. Subtract maybe like 2 hours for sleep and eating, and that's about how many you got, right?
No,
but close.
140 hours.
Well, let's see. You have no. I can't look that up either, but I don't have that much time. Let's see. 24 times 7 for all you smart people. You already know that. And then times 5. I mean, you're not that far. You said 100 and how many hours?
140.
140? Well, you're only 700 hours off. That was close. There's apparently 840 hours in 5 weeks. And if I subtract 2 out of that for your sleeping and eating, I mean, that's an easy... Well, let's put in the calculator before we, just jump to conclusions here. But it looks like it's 338. So, it's pretty close, David. Pretty close. I was close.
Your estimate would have been more than twice as much.
Correction, David. My estimate would have been, let's see, it would have been 6 times as much. Almost exactly.
300? Did you just say around 300? Or what? I heard 300
I said,
there.
no. What I said was, whatever 7 times 24 is 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. So that times 5 would be however many, how much time is in 5 weeks, how many hours are in 5 weeks. And then I subtracted 2 for your eating and sleeping, which came out to be 838. So you were about 700 off. But 140 times 6 is 840. So I was 6 times more. But, like, that's still in the general ballpark.
I guess.
All right, David, I think we're good. I think everyone stopped listening. We can go home now.
Why? Because of your math?
No, because of us. I mean, my math helps with that, but it's technically the calculator's math. My brain, I'm not working that hard at this time of night.
No.
Or any time of night. Or any time of day, honestly. English is hard. I don't care to do math.
Well, you said English is hard enough, so you...
Yeah. I mean, you know, math. I've never really found math to be that hard. I just don't see why I need to do it if I can just use my calculator and not think and not use my limited brain function. I can't wear out what I have. So, all right, David. We got to have some kind of a topic of conversation because we're pretty boring.
Yeah, because if we talk for like 20 more minutes, we can probably break 2 hours on a podcast.
Ah, cool. We want to do that because I've been watching Doctor Who too.
Oh, sure.
We can talk about that for a little while.
Where are you at in Doctor Who?
Well, it's a little weird because we have... so you know how the Doctor Who disc seasons are? They have like, you know, part 1, part 2, series 1, series 2. Like, they're all over the place, you know? Like, you get like 4 episodes in a disc set, you know? Anyway, so we have like 3 or 4 disc sets, and we have, I think we have 2 Matt Smith, because we watched all of those, and I'll get to which episodes they are in a minute. And I think we might have 2 of David Tennant, but I'm not sure. The ones with David Tennant are with Martha. And we've already watched through, we did it out of order. We started with Matt Smith, and then we went back to David Tennant. But the ones with Matt Smith are with Amy and Rory. And I think it starts out with the Asylum of the Daleks, I think is one of the first episodes in there. Do you remember that episode?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I need to
so it starts off with
watch those, but
yeah, it's one of those things like we're watching through it now, and I'm like, I forgot how good Doctor Who was. At least like these couple seasons here. But the main episodes that are on this that are like the key ones are they have the Angels Take Manhattan, which is when Rory and Amy, you know, leave the show, and they also have I don't remember the name of the episode specifically, but when the Doctor dies and they go back to the Silence are in have taken over the U.S. and they go back to the moon landing.
So you're in like the end of the
yeah.
Matt Smith.
Well, no, because it's probably closer to the. I don't know how long they went with what's her name?
I think there was only one season with Clara and was that
Claire? Only one season? Yeah, it was Claire.
Yeah, with Claire and Matt Smith.
Okay. But then maybe. But yeah, so we're there. I honestly, like you said, I said that. I don't know. Anyways, I forgot how good Matt Smith was as the Doctor. Like, he is so goofy and so, like, funny and crazy and, like, seems really chill most of the time. But then when you cross that line, his serious face, like Matt Smith, when he's trying to act all big and bad and hard, he does an amazing job with it. Like it's good.
Mm. And this is kind of always the opinion I've had. Like, I love Matt Smith and I love David Tennant, but picking which one is my favorite, I don't know, because I think I like David Tennant as the Doctor a little bit more, but Matt Smith I feel like had the better seasons, like the stories.
Yeah.
That the Matt Smith Doctor went on. I think I like better.
I remember when Doctor Who's back on Netflix. This was eons ago, and back when Netflix was worth it. Anyway, so me and Katie. Katie got me watching my older sister Katie. Oldest of the three of us. I'm the youngest. And there's a middle person in there named Taylor. Anyways, we try to preference these things or mention these things while we're talking on the podcast, but we don't know how many new people are here. So if you don't know that, you know it now. As convoluted as that was. Anyways, she got me watching Doctor Who, and she had already watched it through however many seasons they had on Netflix, and I was watching through it in order, and I was getting close to the end of David Tennant's time, and she was well into Matt Smith at that point. And I was like, I don't know. I don't really know if I want to leave David Tennant. Like, I like him so much as the Doctor. And she was like, yes, but you'll really, really like Matt Smith. Like, I just know you will. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to leave David Tennant. And, obviously the last couple episodes of David Tennant are real emotional. And, like, they're really good episodes, but they're real emotional. And then Matt Smith comes along and you start watching with him and you're like, me personally, I was like, oh man, I really like David Tennant, but I might like Matt Smith just a little bit more. Like you said, like they're both really good. Like you give the slight edge to David Tennant, I think I give the slight edge to Matt Smith, and a lot of it probably has to do with the fact that he has some of the better episodes, better story arc, stuff like that. I also really like Amy and Rory. They're both really good side characters, probably some of the best the Doctor has. But that doesn't take anything away from David Tennant. Like, I love watching them both. They're both amazing. That's why the 50th anniversary special that they did was, like, phenomenal.
Yeah. I heard they were bringing David Tennant back for, a couple episodes. They have
they're doing a 3-episode special where David Tennant and what's her name, who plays Donna,
Jodie Whittaker,
are coming back. Yeah.
Oh.
They're both.
Because I know it's supposed to be after the Jodie Whittaker Doctor.
Yeah, when they've already actually. So, you said Jodie Whittaker is the new, the latest. She's after Capaldi, right?
Yeah.
Okay. She's already regenerated, and she regenerated into David Tennant. Now, those episodes with David Tennant, and it's supposed to be with Donna, from what I've heard, they don't come out till like the end of this year, but it's only going to be a 3-part special, and then they're going to have him regenerate into the next iteration of the Doctor, which I believe is already floating around as confirmed who it is, but I don't know who the actor is, so... but it's a 3-parter.
I heard they were getting a black actor. I don't know who they
got,
but
I don't know. I've seen the picture. Let's see if I can look it up. All right. So what am I seeing here? Any Doctor Who fans out there? Oh, I can't pronounce his name. I don't want to try to pronounce it and butcher it. Yeah, they already have the newest iteration after David Tennant leaves. They have the newest Doctor ready to go. And I don't know, like I've heard good things about you said Jodie Whittaker is her name, right? I've heard good things about her as the Doctor. And so, you know, I don't know. I know a lot of people stopped watching. Like, it wasn't just something that, like, you know, like our family kind of got off the Doctor train around Matt Smith, some in the Peter Capaldi, but mostly around Matt Smith. Kind of lost the hype for it.
I watched the first season with Peter Capaldi. I did not like Peter Capaldi, which I've heard Jodie Whittaker's better, and I might try to give it another shot. I don't even know what it's on now, but I might try to give it another shot. And
I'd like to see, and obviously, okay, they're bringing David Tennant back because they want to revive the franchise. I think they lost a lot of viewers with it, and then bringing a face like David Tennant back in as the Doctor is, you know, and I think I heard they went to a retro logo for it, so they're bringing back a lot of old things with it to try and revive the franchise. And you know, I might like to go give it a try, you know, because like Doctor Who, it's a really cool concept. It's fun, and you know, there's a lot to it, but it's still a good series. I don't think I'm ever gonna love anything outside of David Tennant and Matt Smith more, but you know, it still can be enjoyable.
Yeah. Also,
can be. Will it be? I don't know, but it can.
Also, I know this wasn't intentional, but I just find it funny that we're talking about Doctor Who after talking about Flashpoint
and time travel.
Time travel.
That is pretty uncanny, honestly.
So on that note, let's also talk about Back to the Future.
Fair enough. We need to watch those movies and talk about them because they are really good. Do we have it on the schedule?
No, but I would love to give those the same treatment we're doing with Star Wars and go through the whole trilogy and do one by one.
We need to do that. That needs to be. I mean, we could do that right before, like when we finish the Star Wars. We could do that for the first 3 months of 2024, because we'll end about the end of this year.
Good Lord, 2024.
I know. Well, the other day I had to actually make sure that it was 2023, because with how like I always think that whatever year it is, like I'm like it can't be. It has to be like 2 years later than that because I'm just so off. And I was like, it is 2023, right? It didn't switch up on me. But yeah, it's crazy. Like it's going to be 2024 before long. Like what was it? We're talking about all the movies that have been coming out. You know, with specifically DC. But it's like think about how long ago 2019 and 2020 was. You know, like it's just crazy to think. Like, David, we're not even old yet, and time's just going by too fast.
That's why we need a DeLorean.
Yeah, I'd rather have the TARDIS, honestly. It seems a little bit more reliable. It's stranded the Doctor a lot less times.
Well, also you do have the aspect of you could pretty much live in there because I mean it's like a mansion.
Yeah. Probably puts most mansions to shame. But yeah. Well, David, have we hit 2 hours yet?
We are 3 minutes away.
Okay, we gotta keep talking. We gotta.
That's true. We probably need to be talking for another 10 minutes, just in case I do have to cut anything. That way we can.
That's true, but you also have to think: how long is the song? You play the whole thing at the end, or most of it. You gotta think about that. We have an outro. We do have all that. So if we talk for 2 hours, we might be able to kill the buffer time. But if you're right, if we want to hit 2 hours on the pod, we probably should get a little bit over just in case you have to cut anything. I think most of that was pretty usable, but there were probably a couple of dead areas.
Yeah.
So
if we're in, if we're like a minute short, I'm gonna be going inserting like dead air in places.
Just inserting dead air.
Just try to get us there.
There you go. Hey, here's the thing: is we need to know, and I guess this is something we should probably go ahead and say is, hey, if you like the 2 hour podcast, let us know. leave a comment. Where do they? Your line. They can get us on Instagram at our username that David says at the end of every single podcast. Just let us know. Also, can you leave a like on Spotify? I don't think you can.
I don't think you can either.
Okay. Well, don't leave a like on Spotify then, but leave a like on YouTube and follow on Spotify. You know, yeah, subscribe on YouTube. You know, it's kind of I got to call some people out here. Okay. So, well, okay, maybe I don't, because the service that we use for analytics for like Spotify is a little bit off because it brings in more than just Spotify. We have 10 followers on Spotify, but there are more people listening than just the 10. So if you are listening on Spotify and you're not following us, why are you doing this to us? It hurts. It hurts David a lot. I hurt David a lot if you don't follow.
Yeah, please, for my sake, follow.
Yeah, for David's sake, follow. This is not an abusive relationship. David is way bigger than me.
Well, I mean,
what'd you say?
Hold on. What do you mean by bigger? You calling me fat again?
I'll just say fat. Yeah, I'm gonna call you fat. I mean, you're fatter than me, but I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call you fat. I mean, I would, but like if I'm actually being serious, I wouldn't call you fat. Just maybe chunky. Chunky would be a good. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You're just bigger than me, David. Let's just leave it at that. Just a vague bigger than me.
I mean, you're like a string bean. You're scrawny.
If you say so. Fat so. Are we Skipper and Gilligan?
I'm not that fat.
I'm not that skinny.
You kind of are.
No, I'm not that skinny. I'm skinny, but I'm not that skinny.
Also, you're talking about the analytics. So, we actually record these. We're actually recording this the day after the last podcast episode went up, the Parks and Rec episode, and that episode's already at 11 plays.
Yeah, our average plays is 13, which is good, and I'm still baffled at the fact that our most listened to pod is the Gilligan's Island one. Like, I thought, I'm not saying it wasn't a good one. I'm just kind of like, I didn't think most people would want to listen to that one specifically.
That one
and the one with Mayberry is is in our top 10 most listened to, which is also kind of cool that a show like
Gilligan's Island is at 30 on the It's across every. So the podcasting service we use is through Spotify, but our podcast is up on every platform, and it counts the plays across every platform. Because we're on literally everything. We're on iHeartRadio, Apple, Amazon, Google.
So listen to there's no excuse not to listen, unless you just hate us, which is understandable.
Yeah.
I hate David too.
I believe we're even on Pandora and stuff too. So, but yeah, I don't hate you, David.
I'm kidding. Okay. It's okay. There's nothing to love here.
Pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts, we're on. Yeah, that kind of surprised me that. But it also surprised me on YouTube. Our most viewed video, our most viewed one on YouTube is the Fast and Furious.
We've talked about how the watch time is really bad on it, which it is. But that being said, we did gain about 5 subscribers from it.
Yeah, so hey, if you're still listening, thank you for subscribing. But yeah,
I was finding we appreciate See, I'm appreciating the viewers, David. It's time for me to talk.
Ahead, go ahead.
Aha. No. But we appreciate every single one of y'all who listen to us ramble, listen to us just go on and on and on and talk. Hopefully we can bring some kind of a joy into your day and not just anguish and sorrow and the want to rip out your eyes or your ears or whatever. But hey,
that's why you need to not talk as much.
I do talk a lot on here. It's just a fact. But I can string together full sentences usually most of the time. Saying you can't. I'm calling you out, David. Look at that. He has nothing to say. Yep, see? Point made.
Bro was thrown by a loft.
Yeah, no, I've made my my peace with that. Hey, David, look at it this way. I've never said that I was smart, and I've honestly never even said that I was smarter than you. I just said I can string together a complete sentence. Whether it makes sense or not is irrelevant.
I still love the comments we get, like roasting us. I still find those so funny.
Those are funny. We haven't gotten enough of those recently. For those of you who are listening, roast us. We like deconstructive criticism.
And Wesley is literally asking for it.
I'm asking for it. Come on, y'all. We better get them. We're gonna get nothing on this. We don't get comments on our stuff. We're not there yet. Nobody cares. That's how deconstructive it is. They just don't care anymore. David, I have a feeling we've hit 2 hours of people just those people who actually like want to see us succeed and like they're like I just want to stay through to the end just to support them. Their ears are bleeding, so we need to save them from the anguish and just go ahead and end this.
What we need to do is we need to come up with a couple more segments, so if we actually want to do like 2 hours plus, we can actually fill the time.
That's true. Well, we have more segments. We just don't have anything to talk about with those segments. Those parts of the today. We've been on too long, David. Get me off.
Okay, well, I feel like Wesley is not being able to speak English anymore, so I figure it's time to move on to an outro.
Fair enough. I'll take the insult.
Well, explorers, that's all the time we have for today.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
Let us know what you thought in the comments down below, or you can DM us on Instagram at DownTheRabbitTrailYT.
And be sure to join us next week on The Trailcast.